everybody. I'm Chef Julia Dunaway, and today I want to make something I'm just going to call a quinoa tofu bowl. Not very imaginative. I know there's so many different creative names out there for things in a bowl. Bowl of plenty, Buddha bowl. Oh, I don't know. There's so many different names for these kind of bowls, but I'm going to just call it what's in it because that makes it easier for me to keep track of what kind of recipes I'm doing. And today I'm going to be using some quinoa. So this is some packaged quinoa that I made. It's a tricolor type. And then I made some tofu. And this is, we're going to call it Cold Marinated Tofu in our recipe. But I made it earlier today and it's cold and it's marinated and it's delicious and it's baked in the air fryer. We're also going to be using some edamame that I have taken out of the freezer, covered it with boiling water for 5 minutes and just let it sit and then drained it. Courtesy of my friend Amy Johnson, who told me that was the best way to heat up frozen edamame, and she was right. It makes it nice and plump and perfect. I always thank her for that. And of course we're going to use some fresh ingredients I have back here. We're going to start our bowl with some salad ingredients, and then we're going to put the other ingredients on it. But first we have to make the dressing. And this is my favorite dressing. I call it Asian dressing, but today I'm calling it sesame miso dressing or ginger sesame dressing, or we can call it miso ginger dressing. It doesn't matter what we call it. It has always got the same kind of basic ingredients in it. And I love the combination of flavors in this dressing. I always start with about a tablespoon of low sodium soy sauce. Well, actually 2 tablespoons. And I know some of you don't like soy sauce, so you could use Bragg's aminos, coconut aminos, whatever you use instead of soy sauce works just fine. I just happen to like soy sauce. And then a tablespoon of maple syrup. I like to get the pure maple syrup, of course, not imitation, like the type our parents gave us growing up. Well, when I was a child of the 50s and 60s, we had all kinds of fake syrups, and I thought they were great at the time, but I wouldn't even touch them now because I think they're made from corn syrup. A tablespoon of lime juice. We'll do that last since I have to mess with it. Rice vinegar, tablespoon of rice vinegar. And if you're in a hurry and you didn't want to mess with the lime, you could just put 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar. So basically it's just vinegar and something sweet, something with a little savory or salt. And then we're going to put some tahini in here that gives it kind of that creamy, rich taste that you would get if we used oil. But since I follow a whole food plant-based, no oil kind of way of eating, I don't use things with oil. But I do use tahini or sesame seeds, and I use the whole form of the nut or seed. And tahini is considered a whole form of a seed, of a sesame seed. So it's okay for us to use tahini in limited amounts. I mean, wouldn't use, a half a cup of tahini in my recipe because obviously it's a lot richer than what I want. And then we'll put our tablespoon of lime juice in here. I just have the lime. It's just like half of a lime. It's not the whole lime. I don't want to get it too tart. So I'm just going to guess at it. I think that's close enough. It's always just like half of the lime. Then we're going to put one of our great ingredients in here, miso. I get this mellow white Miso Master miso paste at one of the stores I go to. And you can see it, it's not really white, but it's light colored as opposed to the miso you would get that's called red miso, which looks more like dark brown. And we're only going to use, let's say we're going to use half a teaspoon of miso. We don't want to use too much, and this is a teaspoon. I'm not filling it all the way. And it's very thick, so we don't want to put too much in there. And miso gives everything such a really good kind of a depth of flavor. It's such a good ingredient. It's made from whole soybeans, sea salt, and it's aged and fermented, and it gets to a point where it just develops this really great flavor. I think people associate it with umami, kind of that taste that you associate with richness. And that's why we put miso on things. But you have to kind of mix it around with your spoon because miso stays pretty solid in a paste. And if we were just to shake this jar, that miso paste would just stay a paste. It really wouldn't. It wouldn't melt very easily. So by pressing it with the spoon, I'm able to then have it mixed with the other ingredients, and then I kind of look to make sure it mixed up, and it did. Our next ingredient is ginger, and I'm out of fresh ginger. Usually I have tons of fresh ginger, but I'm out, so I'm using my ground ginger. And we can vary that from, when we're using ground ginger, 1/4 of a teaspoon is more than enough. Ginger is one of those things where it's really easy to overdo it, in my estimation, because I think ginger can be overpowering. And I've had many a dish where I got a little too generous with the ginger, and all I could taste was ginger, and I didn't like it. And then red chili flakes, same thing, just 1/4 of a teaspoon. If you go crazy with the red chili flakes, then people will taste your dressing and they'll say, oh, what's in this dressing? It's so hot, I can't eat it. So a little goes a long way. And that's pretty much it. That's our miso ginger dressing. Now to make it more pronounced with miso, add more miso. Add more tahini. Tahini is the sesame part. And ginger, of course, is this part, the ground ginger. So you can adjust it to kind of go with what you like. So if you're a person who loves the taste of miso, add more miso. And along with everything else, add more of what you like. I think this dressing could be customized to use anything. You could use it with any kind of vinegar. You could put, just a basic tahini dressing with lemon or lime, just the tahini, lemon, lime, and vinegar, and then add whatever spices you like. And there you go. There's your oil-free dressing. I put this dressing on my salad all the time. I never get tired of it. And we're going to use it today in our quinoa tofu bowl. So let's get started making our bowl. Here's the bowl I'm going to use. This is a bowl from Andrew Pierce in Vermont. And I'm going to go back there and get some more of their bowls. They're handmade and they're the most beautiful bowls. I'm going to use this one, but we could use this kind of pasta bowl. It's a shallow, wide bowl because for me, I like to see all the ingredients in the bowl. I don't want it to be in a deep bowl where everything is kind of buried. I like to see it because you eat with your eyes, right? This is a Corel unbreakable bowl, the type you get at Walmart. I have a bunch of these too, grandchildren. And this is a very big bowl. So if you have a big appetite and want a huge quinoa tofu bowl, use that bowl. I'm just going to use this bowl because that's the size I want. So what we're going to do is say, okay, we can start with some lettuce. We don't have to put a lot in here. We're just going to put like a handful of lettuce. It's fine. You don't have to eat a ton of greens. A cup of greens is a serving. And I like to kind of slice the greens a little bit. I don't want to chop them really fine because I don't like greens that are chopped up really tiny. That's not appealing to me. But I don't like to pick up a green, let's say get one of the greens out of this bowl, and in my bite, I have a giant green. That's not my thing either. So I like them to just be kind of sliced up. That appeals to me more. And then we have different things we can add. We can add a cucumber. And this is one of those hothouse English cucumbers. And what I like to do is I like to just peel strips off of it with my peeler. So I don't peel all of the skin off. It's organic and it's hothouse, so the skin hasn't been treated with wax. They come wrapped in some kind of coating or a plastic, I know some of you don't want to use plastic, but they do come wrapped in plastic because they don't have wax. So what you sacrifice in not getting wax is you get something that has plastic on it. But that's the English cucumber. But what I like about them is the seeds are very small. And so what we can do is we can cut the cucumber. I like to kind of cut it on the diagonal. And this is just for one, so I'm not going to cut lots and lots of cucumber because one person, for me, I don't want it to be nothing but a taste of cucumbers. And then I'm going to cut those cucumbers into kind of julienne strips because most of the things in my salad are going to be cut in the julienne strips, which is like 2 inches by 1/8 of an inch. This one's a little thick, so that's roughly 1/8 by 2 inches, and it's kind of called matchstick pieces. So we have our cucumbers, we can do the same thing with carrots. So to show you a tool that's useful is I have a Julienne Peeler. And that works really well with carrots because the carrots I get are usually they're really skinny and they're hard to cut. Sometimes I cut them like I did the cucumber at the diagonal and then cut them into strips. But let's say you have a little skinny cucumber and it doesn't work, and a really skinny carrot and it doesn't work that well. The Julienne Peeler, you just run it along your vegetable and then it automatically peels them into little matchstick type pieces. And that looks pretty nice. So I use this from time to time. Not always, but it works good on a lot of vegetables. So there I was able to get quite a few. And then I'm going to cut these into approximately 2-inch size lengths because remember, everything is kind of at 2-inch pieces. And then I just kind of sprinkle them on my bowl, my quinoa and tofu bowl. So, and I may save a few to put on top because we want the top to be pretty too. We don't want everything to be at the bottom. Then what else can we put in here? I have some radicchio that I kind of fished the radicchio out of the lettuce because I wanted something red. We could have red cabbage, but I didn't have any red cabbage, so I thought, well, I'll harvest some radicchio out of the spring mix, and then I'll just kind of put it on the top part. Radicchio can be kind of bitter. It's an acquired taste. Not everybody likes it. It's funny, my grandsons were over for Easter, and I served them a salad, just kind of a tossed salad, but it had this spring mix in it, and it had lots of radicchio in this one for whatever reason. And my 7-year-old grandson came up to his mother and he said, "That salad was nasty." And his mother said, "No, don't say that. That's not polite." And I just kind of chuckled. I said, "Oh, it's okay. It had a lot of bitter stuff in it." But, little kids, they don't like the taste of bitter herbs or lettuces usually, unless they've grown up eating them. And my grandson apparently has never had them. Okay, so I just cut a little slab off my red pepper. I don't really need a lot of it. And I'm going to cut those into the same thing, the little 1/8 by 2-inch pieces. And I cut the bell pepper on the rough side because to me that keeps the knife from moving around. If you cut it on the slippery side and you don't have a really sharp knife, it can be a little iffy. And I think this red bell pepper to me is just a little long for my bite-sized pieces. So I'm just going to cut it in half. So it's not quite 2 inches, but close enough. I'll put it all on there. I like red bell pepper. Look at all the colors. Purple, orange, green, red. Just so many colors in this salad. And then I have some red onion. I'm just going to get a couple of slices. And I'm going to leave those for last. I'm going to kind of cut the slices up a little bit so that we can top it with a little bit of this red onion for color. So one thing I wanted to point out about a bowl, and last but not least, jalapeno. Let me cut this and then I'll tell you what I wanted to point out. I'm going to cut the jalapeno really, really thin because nobody wants to bite into a giant, thick piece of hot pepper unless you love hot peppers, and some people do. But I'm just doing this kind of like moderate, and we're not going to put a lot on there. I can get carried away with stuff like this very easily. So I wanted to point out that the number of ingredients for our bowl, let me lay them out here so you can see, because we have 1 cucumber, carrot, bell pepper, that's 3, red onion, 4, the spring mix, we'll just call it all 1, 5, and jalapeno pepper is 6, and then we have our quinoa and our tofu and our edamame. So we have 9 things in this bowl. That's plenty. You don't have to have everything but the kitchen sink in your bowl. And I see this all the time. I see people making these daily bowls, they call them, and they have like 14 ingredients. And they have, they take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and all these random ingredients and pile them on top of one another. And they end up with, to me, I call it a hodgepodge. It's not my thing. It's too much. I'm more of a person that likes the dish to be unified. so that the flavors go together. So this one is more of an Asian inspired bowl. So it has the spring mix and the bell pepper and the cucumber and a little carrot. And then we're gonna put our quinoa on here. And for me, a quinoa serving is about half a cup because I follow the daily dozen and I eat 3 servings of grains a day and they're all half cup portions. So that's about half a cup. You can definitely put more on there. That's, you know, I'm not trying to be, you know, chintzy with it, but that's just the way I eat, and this is going to be my lunch. And then I have my delicious cold marinated tofu, which I love this tofu, and the recipe for the Asian dressing or the ginger tofu, or ginger miso dressing will be in the show notes along with the cold marinated tofu. And I'm going to put it on my cutting board. But I took a slab of tofu and I drained it and I pressed it and got all the water out, and then I cut it in half this way. You know, the tofu is this size, and I just kind of cut it into 2 slabs. And then I marinated it in my marinade, which I will leave you with the recipe, which consisted of things like a little soy sauce, Worcestershire sauce, coconut aminos, and some different herbs and spices. And then I cooked it in the air fryer, and I'll give you those instructions too, but basically I just cooked it in the air fryer for about 15 minutes, really, about 350. And what happens is it cooks it. It's so nicely cooked, and you can kind of see it's not dried out, but it's not undercooked either. It's just right. It's got plenty of texture still, and it has, you know, a good flavor from the marinade. And what this tofu will be like is it will stay this way in the refrigerator for 3 or 4 days, and I can use it for a lot of other dishes. It also tastes really good just to eat it like it is, kind of like a snack. So I try not to do that because I'm trying to save these kind of things for my meal. So then we can take this tofu and we can just kind of set it around on our bowl. And I just cut it into, you know, little strips and then cut the strips in half. Again, keeping kind of the portion or the look of it consistent with, you know, the 2-inch julienne kind of pieces. So now that I've got the quinoa and the tofu on there, I feel like I can add some of the other ingredients that are colorful so that it ends with the colorful ingredients. Other than getting, if they were buried in there, we wouldn't have seen them. So I put the radicchio, put the little red onion. I have a few carrots left, so we can get some carrots on top. And then I also have the edamame. So here's my edamame. We don't really need to use a lot of it, depending on how well you like edamame, but I don't like to put too much in my salad or in my bowl because then all I would taste is edamame. So I like everything kind of, you know, just in a way where it's balanced. To me, that's balanced. Okay, and then I have my jalapenos, thinly sliced jalapenos. Put a few of those on the top. And then lastly, we put a couple more things, our dressing. Just shake it up before you use it. How much dressing do you need to use? I tend to use like a tablespoon. So I'll put a tablespoon of my nice sesame miso ginger dressing on there. You could use more, but you know, I try not to use things that are highly seasoned and salty and whatever because my taste buds have evolved to the point where I don't really need a lot of highly flavored food. I'm okay with small amounts. And then I'll put some sesame seeds on top. And so there we have it. We have our quinoa tofu bowl in the beautiful wooden bowl, and then I can take a bite of it. And I can mix it up. I could, you know, do a lot of things with it, but essentially what I like is the quinoa, the grain, the tofu, the vegetables, the dressing. Everything works together really well, and it just is such a bright taste from the lime in the dressing, because remember we put fresh lime juice in the dressing and all the fresh vegetables. So I just wanted to share with you a way that I eat my daily dozen, which is fruits and vegetables, grains, nuts and seeds, beans, on a daily basis. I make things like these bowls, and this is a good example. And I also wanted to show you that I have numerous ways to make bowls. Like that's the one I felt like making today, but let's say tonight I don't want to eat that. So I have some sweet potatoes I baked a couple days ago. One is a Jersey sweet potato and the other one is a Japanese sweet potato. I have broccoli I made last night. I steamed it for 5 minutes in the microwave. And then I have hummus that I made on Sunday that is homemade hummus with from scratch chickpeas, and it's the best hummus I've ever made. It's in one of my YouTube videos. There's one called My Best Hummus. And I also still have the fresh chickpeas that I used to make the hummus. I saved some for another recipe, but I could also put those on a bowl. And these chickpeas are so great because they're made from scratch. And then, last but not least, I have some carrots and celery sticks that I cut up yesterday. So I could put together another bowl using my quinoa that we just used, or I have brown rice in the freezer, which I always have brown rice in the freezer. So I could take brown rice or quinoa, a little bit of my lettuce. I could layer it with this chopped up sweet potatoes, broccoli, the hummus, some cherry. I didn't show you, I had cherry tomatoes, garbanzo beans, and then instead of having Asian dressing, like I told you, I can make the same kind of dressing, but I could leave out all the Asian flavorings and just use tahini and some vinegar and some lemon juice and some garlic and kind of make it more of a Middle Eastern type of dressing. So you can have any bowl you want, but for today I had the quinoa tofu bowl, and it's absolutely wonderful. We could keep adding more to it, but I wanted to show you something with a little bit of simplicity. Even though it has 9 ingredients, it's still 9 ingredients is not as many as a lot of bowls I've seen where everybody throws in everything in the kitchen. So, you know, keep your ingredients balanced and then you'll enjoy them more. And I think a lot of people I've talked to said that they got discouraged about their plant-based way of eating because they didn't enjoy the taste of the food. And maybe sometimes it was because they mixed too many ingredients together that didn't go together, and then the food didn't taste good. Kind of like my grandson saying, "Oh, that salad tasted nasty." I've had that experience when I've eaten things that didn't go together well. So make something that's harmonious, that goes together well, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So the recipe will be here in the show notes. I hope you enjoy my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to do a new video every Wednesday of some kind of cooking demo. So, and then also every Monday, I do a live stream on Facebook called Bean of the Week. And then I put them here on YouTube too. So every Monday, I'm doing a Rancho Gordo bean that I've gotten in my collection of beans, and I do a video every Monday. So I hope you watch that too. So thank you all for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, and I hope you enjoy your whole food plant-based meals as much as I do. Bye for now.